Shut out of family dinner before my husband could drop the divorce bombshell. Subscribe channel friends to get more interesting stories. The late afternoon sun hung low over the manicured lawns of Claire's suburban estate, casting long shadows across the cobblestone driveway. Emma Lawson adjusted the strap of her purse, her fingers trembling slightly as she smoothed her navy dress. It wasn't the first time she'd felt out of place pulling up to her sister-in-law's house, but tonight's family dinner carried an extra weight. Mark had been distant for weeks, his texts curt, his evenings filled with client meetings. Emma had hoped this dinner, Claire's annual family unity charade, might be a chance to reconnect, to remind Mark of the life they'd built together. She glanced at her reflection in the car window, forcing a smile. She could do this. For Lila. For them. The front door, a towering slab of polished oak, loomed ahead. Emma clutched the bottle of Merlot she'd brought, a peace offering, though Claire would likely sneer at its modest label. The Reynolds home screamed wealth, ivy-draped walls, a 3-car garage, and a fountain that gurgled like it belonged in a European villa. Emma's modest sedan looked like an intruder parked between Claire's BMW and Tom's Tesla. She took a deep breath, her heels clicking on the stone path as she approached the door. The faint hum of laughter and clinking glasses drifted from inside. The family was already gathered: Mark, his parents, Claire's husband Tom, and probably a few of Claire's insufferable friends. Emma pressed the doorbell, the chime echoing like a warning. She waited, shifting her weight, her stomach nodding. No answer. She rang again, louder this time, and the door swung open abruptly. Claire stood there, her blonde hair swept into a perfect chignon, her emerald dress hugging her frame like it was tailored that morning. Her smile was tight, her eyes cold. "Emma," Claire said, her voice clipped. "What are you doing here?" Emma blinked, the bottle of wine suddenly heavy in her hands. "I'm here for the dinner." Mark said, "No." Claire's word cut through the air like a blade. "You're not welcome tonight." Emma froze, her mouth half open. The laughter from inside dimmed, as if the room itself was holding its breath. "What do you mean, not welcome? This is a family dinner." "I'm family." Claire's lips curled into something that wasn't quite a smile. "Not tonight, you're not. This is a private gathering." "Mark didn't tell you?" Emma's heart thudded. "Mark invited me. He said we were all expected, me, him, Lila." "Lila's inside with Mark," Claire interrupted, folding her arms. "But you? You're not on the list." "Sorry." Her tone held no apology, only a smug finality. Emma's face burned. She glanced past Claire, catching a glimpse of the dining room, candlelight flickering, Mark's parents laughing, a spread of food that could feed a small army. Mark was there, somewhere, but he hadn't come to the door. "This is ridiculous," Emma said, her voice rising. "You can't just ban me from a family dinner." "What's going on?" Claire stepped forward, pulling the door closer to her body, blocking Emma's view. "Don't make a scene, Emma. It's embarrassing. Go home. Mark will explain later." "Embarrassing?" Emma's voice cracked. A neighbor across the street paused while watering his lawn, his head turning toward the commotion. "You're the one kicking me out like I'm some stranger. Let me talk to Mark." "Now." Claire's eyes narrowed. "He's busy. Hosting. You know, doing what you should have done years ago, keeping this family together." She leaned in, her voice dropping to a hiss. "Go home, Emma. You're not wanted here." The door slammed shut, the sound echoing in Emma's ears like a gunshot. She stood there, rooted to the porch, the Merlot bottle slipping in her sweaty grip. The neighbor was openly staring now, his hose dribbling water onto the grass. Emma's cheeks flushed with humiliation. She wanted to pound on the door, to scream until Mark came out, but her legs felt like lead. She turned, stumbling back to her car, the laughter from inside Claire's house chasing her like a taunt. Inside the car, Emma gripped the steering wheel, her breath shallow. Her phone buzzed in her purse, but she ignored it. Her mind raced, replaying Claire's words, the smug tilt of her head. Not welcome. Not wanted. How had it come to this? She and Mark had been married for 8 years of navigating his overbearing family, of biting her tongue at Claire's snide remarks about her artsy job or her chaotic parenting. Emma had endured it all for Mark, for Lila, for the promise of a life together. But now, standing outside Claire's fortress, she felt like an outsider in her own marriage. She pulled out her phone, her hands shaking as she opened her texts to Mark. What's going on? Claire just banned me from the dinner. Why didn't you tell me? She hit send, staring at the screen, willing the 3 dots to appear. Nothing. She typed again, Mark, I'm outside. Come talk to me. Now. Still nothing. Emma's eyes stung with tears, but she blinked them back. She wasn't going to cry, not here, not where Claire's neighbors could see. She started the car, the engines hum a small comfort, and pulled away from the curb. But instead of driving home, she circled the block, her mind churning. Something was wrong, more than Claire's usual pettiness. Mark's silence, Claire's cruelty, the way the family had closed ranks. It felt orchestrated. She parked under a street lamp a block away, her phone still clutched in her hand. No response from Mark. She opened her contacts and dialed Sarah, her best friend since college, the one person who'd always seen through Claire's polished facade. Em? What's up? Sarah's voice was warm, a lifeline in the dark. Emma's words tumbled out, raw and unsteady. Claire just kicked me out of her house. Said I wasn't welcome at the family dinner. Mark didn't even come to the door. I don't know what's happening, Sarah. It's like they're all in on some secret. Whoa, slow down, Sarah said, her lawyer's instinct kicking in. Claire banned you? Like, physically wouldn't let you in? She slammed the door in my face. Said it was a private gathering. Mark invited me this morning, Sarah. He told me to be there at 6. Lila's inside with him, and I'm just out here. That's insane, Sarah said, her voice sharp. Claire's always been a control freak, but this is next level. Did Mark say anything about why? No. He's not answering my texts. Emma's voice broke. I feel like an idiot, standing there with a stupid bottle of wine while she looked at me like I was trash. You're not an idiot, Sarah said firmly. This is on Claire. And Mark, frankly, for letting her pull this. Something's fishy. You said Lila's there? Yeah. Mark picked her up from school. I thought we were all going together, but he said he had to run by Claire's early to help set up. Sarah snorted. Help set up? Mark? The guy who can't set a table without a manual? This doesn't add up. Claire's got something up her sleeve, and Mark's either clueless or complicit. Emma's stomach twisted. You think he knew she was going to do this? I don't know, Sarah admitted. But Mark's been weird lately, right? You told me he's been distant, working late, dodging you. Maybe Claire's pulling the strings, but he's letting her. What's the dinner about, anyway? Claire's annual family unity thing, Emma said, her voice bitter. Her chance to play Queen Bee, show off her perfect life. Mark's parents are there, probably Tom, maybe some cousins. I don't know why I'm suddenly persona non grata. Sarah was quiet for a moment, then said, Okay, here's what you do. Don't go home yet. You're too upset to be alone, and we need to figure this out. Can you get eyes on the house? See what's going on? Like, spy on them? Emma's pulse quickened. The idea felt absurd, but the sting of Claire's rejection made her bold. What am I supposed to do, hide in the bushes? Exactly, Sarah said, half joking. Or, be subtle. Park closer, see who's there, maybe overhear something. If Claire's playing gatekeeper, there's a reason. And if Mark's not texting you back, he's either avoiding you or distracted. Either way, you deserve answers. Emma glanced at the street ahead. The idea of creeping back to Claire's house felt reckless, but the alternative, driving home to an empty house, stewing in humiliation, was worse. "Okay," she said. "I'll try. But if I get caught, you're bailing me out." "Deal," Sarah said. "Call me if anything weird happens." I'm grabbing my laptop to look into Claire. She's not as untouchable as she thinks. Emma hung up, her resolve hardening. She drove back toward Claire's house, parking behind a row of shrubs that shielded her car from view. The street was quiet now, the neighbor gone, the sunset fading into dusk. She slipped out of the car, her heels catching on the grass as she crept toward the side of Claire's property. The dining room windows glowed, curtains partially drawn, offering slivers of the scene inside. She crouched near a hedge, her heart pounding. This was insane. She was a 34-year-old graphic designer, not a private detective. But the image of Claire's smug face, the silence from Mark, propelled her forward. She edged closer, the grass damp under her knees, and peered through a gap in the curtains. The dining room was a tableau of excess, a crystal chandelier, a mahogany table laden with roasted lamb, glazed vegetables, and wine glasses catching the light. Mark's parents, Helen and Richard, sat at one end, their faces flushed with laughter. Tom, Claire's husband, hovered near the bar, pouring drinks with a strained smile. Claire stood at the head of the table, gesturing animatedly, her voice carrying through the cracked window. "And that's why we need to stay united," Claire was saying. "Family first, always. No distractions, no complications." Emma's breath caught. Was she the complication? She scanned the room for Mark. He was there, near the fireplace, his back to her, his posture stiff. Lila sat beside him, her pigtails bobbing as she colored on a napkin. Emma's heart ached at the sight of her daughter, blissfully unaware of the tension. Then Mark turned, his phone in hand, glancing at the screen. Emma's texts. He'd seen them. Why wasn't he responding? She leaned closer, straining to hear as Claire's voice sharpened. "Mark, it's time," Claire said, her tone commanding. "We've waited long enough. Tonight's the night to set things right." "Set what right?" Emma's mind raced. She shifted, her foot snapping a twig. The sound was faint, but Tom's head jerked toward the window. Emma ducked, her pulse hammering. Had he seen her? She held her breath, waiting, but no one came outside. When she peeked again, Mark was speaking, his voice low, the words muffled but urgent. "Divorce, tonight, clean break." Emma's stomach plummeted. Divorce. He was going to announce their divorce. At Claire's dinner, surrounded by his family, without her there. The betrayal hit like a physical blow, stealing her breath. She clutched the hedge, thorns pricking her palm, grounding her in the pain. Mark had planned this. Claire had banned her to keep her out of the way. But why? Why humiliate her like this? She stumbled back to her car, her vision blurring with tears. Inside, she slammed the door, her hands shaking as she called Sarah again. "You were right," she said, her voice hoarse. "Mark's going to announce our divorce. I heard him. Claire's in on it. They didn't want me there to stop it." "Oh, Sarah said, her voice soft but fierce. "That's low, even for Claire. And Mark, God, what a coward." "Are you okay?" "No," Emma admitted, a tear slipping down her cheek. "I'm humiliated. I'm furious. I don't even know what I did to deserve this." "You didn't do anything," Sarah said. "This is about them, not you. Claire's got some kind of power trip going, and Mark's letting her run the show. We need to find out why. Can you get home? I'll meet you there, and we'll figure out our next move." Emma nodded, though Sarah couldn't see her. "Yeah. I'm coming home. But Sarah, I'm not letting this go. They think they can shut me out, humiliate me in front of everyone? They're wrong. That's my girl," Sarah said. "Get home safe. We'll make them regret this." Emma hung up, her hand steadying on the wheel. The pain of Claire's rejection, Mark's betrayal, burned hot in her chest, but beneath it, something else flickered, a spark of defiance. She wasn't the weak link Claire thought she was. She wasn't the disposable wife Mark could discard in front of his family. She'd find out why Claire had banned her, why Mark had planned this ambush. And when she did, they'd wish they'd never shut her out. She started the car, the engine roaring to life, and pulled away from Claire's house. The dining room lights faded in her rearview mirror, but the image of Mark's silhouette, his phone glowing with her unanswered texts, stayed with her. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Flashback, 8 years ago. Emma's mind drifted as she drove, the road blurring through her tears. She remembered the first time she'd met Claire, 8 years ago, at Mark's parents' house for Thanksgiving. She'd been nervous, her engagement ring still shiny on her finger, Mark's arm around her waist. Claire had swept in, all smiles and expensive perfume, offering a backhanded compliment about Emma's cute thrift store sweater. So bohemian, she'd said, her eyes flicking to Mark as if to say, really? Her? Mark had laughed it off, whispering to Emma later that Claire was just intense. But the slights had piled up over the years. Claire's comments about Emma's graphic design career, such a fun little hobby, or her parenting, Lila's so spirited, maybe a stricter routine would help. Emma had swallowed it all, for Mark's sake, for the family's sake. But now, driving away from Claire's house, she wondered why she'd ever tried to please her. She thought back to the last few months, the slow unraveling of her marriage. Mark's late nights, his excuses about work, the way he'd stopped looking her in the eye. She'd blamed herself, thinking she wasn't enough, too distracted by Lila, too stressed by freelance deadlines. But now she saw it differently. Mark hadn't just drifted away. He'd been pulled. By Claire? By something else? The thought made her grip the wheel tighter. Back at home, Emma's house was dark when she pulled into the driveway, the silence oppressive. She'd left a lamp on for Lila, expecting to be home together after the dinner, but now the empty rooms felt like a rebuke. She dropped her purse on the counter, the Merlot bottle clunking against the granite. Her phone buzzed, finally, a text from Mark. "We'll talk tomorrow. Lila's fine. Don't make this harder than it needs to be." Emma stared at the words, her anger flaring. Don't make this harder? He'd let his sister humiliate her, planned to announce their divorce like it was a business deal, and she was making it hard? She typed a reply, her fingers flying, but deleted it. No. She wouldn't give him the satisfaction of a fight over text. She'd do this her way. Sarah arrived 20 minutes later, her arms full of takeout and a bottle of whiskey. "Emergency supplies," she said, kicking off her shoes. "Now, tell me everything. Every detail." Emma recounted the night, the door slamming, Claire's smirk, the overheard snippet about the divorce. Sarah listened, her lawyer's brain already working. "This isn't just Claire being a bitch," she said when Emma finished. "She's orchestrating something. The timing, the ban, Mark's silence, it's too coordinated. We need to know what they're hiding." "How?" Emma asked, pouring a shot of whiskey. "Mark won't talk, and Claire's got the whole family wrapped around her finger." Sarah grinned, a glint in her eye. "We start digging. Claire's not as smart as she thinks. People like her always leave a trail. And Mark? He's not the mastermind here. We find the weak link, we break this open." Emma nodded, the whiskey burning her throat. For the first time that night, she felt a flicker of control. Claire had tried to shut her out, to erase her from the family. Mark had betrayed her, planning to end their marriage in front of everyone but her. But they'd underestimated her. She wasn't just a wife, a mother, a complication. She was Emma Lawson, and she was done playing nice. "Tomorrow," she said, her voice steady. "We start tomorrow. I want to know why Claire did this. I want to know what Mark's hiding. And when I find out, they're going to wish they'd let me in that door." Sarah raised her glass. "To making them regret it." Emma clinked her glass, the spark in her chest growing. This was just the beginning. Emma woke to the sound of her phone buzzing on the nightstand, the screen glowing in the pre-dawn gloom. Her head throbbed from last night's whiskey and tears, but the memory of Claire's slammed door and Mark's silence burned sharper than any hangover. She grabbed the phone, hoping for an apology, an explanation, anything from Mark. Instead, it was a text from Sarah, "Coffee's on. Get over here. We're starting the war room." Emma dragged herself out of bed, the empty house a stark reminder of Lila's absence. Her 6-year-old was still with Mark at Claire's, probably eating pancakes while Claire played the doting aunt. The thought made Emma's stomach churn. She pulled on jeans and a sweater, her reflection in the mirror showing dark circles under her eyes. She looked like someone who'd been kicked out of her own life. But Sarah was right, they needed to fight back. Emma wasn't going to let Claire and Mark rewrite her story. Sarah's apartment was a cozy contrast to Claire's sterile mansion, mismatched furniture, law books stacked on every surface, and the smell of fresh coffee. Sarah was at her kitchen table, laptop open, her hair in a messy bun. "You look like hell," she said, sliding a mug toward Emma. "But we're fixing this. Sit." Emma sank into a chair, wrapping her hands around the warm mug. "I didn't sleep. Kept thinking about Mark, what he said at the dinner. He was going to announce our divorce like it was a board meeting. And Claire, God, she planned it." Sarah nodded, her fingers flying across the keyboard. "Claire's the key. She's not just being petty, she's strategic. Banning you from that dinner was a power move. We need to know why. What's her endgame?" Emma sipped the coffee, its bitterness grounding her. "I've been replaying every interaction with her. She's always hated me, but this? It's personal. Like I'm a threat." "You are a threat," Sarah said, her eyes narrowing. "You're Mark's wife, Lila's mom. You're in the family, whether she likes it or not. If she's trying to cut you out, there's something she doesn't want you to know." Emma's mind flashed to the dinner, the snippet she'd overheard through the window. "Divorce, tonight, clean break. Mark's in on it," she said, her voice low. "He didn't just forget to tell me I wasn't invited. He let Claire shut me out." Sarah leaned back, crossing her arms. "Then we dig into both of them. Mark's been weird for months, right? Late nights, secret calls. You thought he was just stressed about work, but what if it's more? What if Claire's pulling his strings?" Emma's chest tightened. She'd spent months making excuses for Mark, his financial advisory job was demanding, he was under pressure, he needed space. But now, the pieces didn't fit. "He's been taking money out of our joint account," she admitted. "Small amounts at first, then bigger. I noticed last month but didn't say anything. I thought, maybe he was planning a surprise, or covering a client's loss." Sarah's eyebrows shot up. "He's moving money? Without telling you? That's not a surprise, Em. That's a red flag. We need to check his finances, Claire's too. If they're working together, there's a paper trail." Emma hesitated. Digging into Mark's accounts felt like crossing a line, but he'd crossed one first. "How do we even start? I'm not a hacker. I design logos, not spy missions." Sarah grinned, pulling up a contact on her phone. "Luckily, I know someone who can help. Mike, a private investigator I worked with on a fraud case. He's discreet, and he owes me a favor. He can look into Mark's accounts, Claire's business dealings, anything shady. You okay with that?" Emma nodded, though her stomach knotted. Hiring a PI felt like admitting her marriage was over. But maybe it already was. "Do it. I need to know what they're hiding." Sarah sent a quick text to Mike, then turned back to Emma. "While he gets started, let's go through what we know. Claire bans you from the dinner, Mark plans to announce the divorce, and they're both acting like you're the enemy. What's changed recently? Anything new with Mark or Claire?" Emma thought back, her mind sifting through the past few months. Mark's been obsessed with this new client, some big investor. He said it could make or break his firm. Claire's been around more, too. She's been calling him all the time, showing up at our house unannounced. I thought she was just being her usual controlling self, but maybe she's tied to this client," Sarah finished. "Or the money." Claire's got her fingers in everything, her real estate business, the family trust. If Mark's moving money, she might be in on it. Emma's phone buzzed, and her heart leapt, hoping it was Mark. But it was a photo from Lila, sent through Mark's phone, her daughter grinning with a pancake smeared with syrup. "Having fun with Aunt Claire." The caption read. Emma's jaw clenched. Claire was playing the perfect aunt, while Emma was locked out of her own daughter's life. "She's using Lila," Emma said, her voice shaking. "To hurt me." Sarah reached across the table, squeezing her hand. "We'll get Lila back. But we need to stay focused. Let's look at your joint account. You have access, right?" Emma nodded, pulling up her banking app. She logged in, her fingers hesitating as she scrolled through the transactions. There they were, withdrawals, some as small as $500, others as large as $10,000, stretching back 6 months. "There's over $50,000 gone," she said, her voice hollow. "He never told me." Sarah leaned over, her eyes scanning the screen. "These are going to an account I don't recognize. Not your savings, not his business account. We need Mike to trace it. This could be why Claire banned you. She didn't want you asking questions in front of the family." Emma's mind raced. Was Mark hiding money for the divorce? To start a new life? Or was Claire pulling him into something bigger? She remembered a dinner a month ago, Claire boasting about a real estate deal that could secure the family's future. Mark had nodded along, but his eyes had darted to Emma, almost guilty. She'd brushed it off then, but now it felt like a clue. Mike called an hour later, his voice gruff but efficient. "Got a preliminary look at Mark's finances," he said over speakerphone. "Your husband's been transferring money to an offshore account, small enough to avoid red flags but consistent. It's linked to a shell company, CR Investments." Ring any bells? Emma's breath caught. CR Claire Reynolds. It's her. Sarah's eyes lit up. Bingo. Claire's real estate empire. Mike, can you dig deeper? See if she's using Mark to funnel money or hide assets? On it, Mike said. But it gets weirder. Mark's firm is under scrutiny, some clients are complaining about mismanaged funds. Nothing official yet, but there's chatter. If he's tied to Claire's company, it could be trouble. Emma's head spun. Mark, mismanaging funds? He'd always been meticulous, the one who balanced their checkbook to the penny. But then she remembered his late-night calls, the way he'd snap his laptop shut when she entered the room. What kind of trouble, she asked. Could be fraud, embezzlement, or just bad business, Mike said. I'll need a few days to confirm. In the meantime, check your email, old texts, anything Mark or Claire might have sent. People slip up, leave clues. Emma spent the afternoon at Sarah's, combing through her inbox and texts. Most were mundane, grocery lists, Lila's school schedules, but one email from Claire to Mark, forwarded to Emma by mistake 6 months ago, stood out. The subject was blank, the message cryptic: we need to handle this situation before it gets out of hand. You know what's at stake. Keep her out of it. Emma's heart pounded as she showed it to Sarah. This was right after Mark started working with that big client. Keep her out of it. That's me, isn't it? Sarah nodded, her jaw tight. Claire's been planning this for a while. Whatever it is, it's big enough to make her ban you from the dinner. Maybe Mark's divorce announcement was part of the cover. Emma's mind flashed to Lila, to the photo of her smiling with Claire. Was her daughter safe? Claire wouldn't hurt Lila, would she? But the thought of her little girl caught in this web of lies made Emma's blood run cold. I need to talk to Mark, she said. Face to face. He can't hide behind texts anymore. Sarah hesitated. You sure? He's with Claire. It could tip them off that we're digging. I don't care, Emma said, her voice firm. He's my husband. Lila's with him. I deserve answers. They arranged to meet Mark at a neutral spot, a coffee shop near his office, away from Claire's influence. Emma drove there, her hands gripping the wheel, rehearsing what she'd say. She wanted to scream, to demand why he'd betrayed her, but she needed to stay calm, to get him to talk. Mark was already there when she arrived, sitting at a corner table, his suit rumpled, his eyes bloodshot. He looked like he hadn't slept either. Emma, he said, his voice low. I'm sorry about last night. Claire went too far. Too far? Emma's voice was sharp, drawing glances from nearby tables. She lowered it, leaning in. She banned me from a family dinner, Mark. In front of everyone. And you let her. Then I hear you're planning to announce our divorce? What the hell is going on? Mark's eyes darted away, his fingers tapping the table. It's complicated. I didn't want it to go like that. Claire thought, it'd be easier if you weren't there. Easier for who? Emma snapped. For you? For Claire? You were going to end our marriage in front of your family, without even telling me. Why? Mark rubbed his face, his shoulders slumping. I was going to tell you, Em. I swear. But things got out of hand. The business, the clients, it's a mess. I thought the divorce would simplify things. Simplify? Emma's voice trembled with anger. You think divorcing me in front of your sister and parents simplifies things? What about Lila? What about me? Lila's fine, Mark said quickly. She's with my mom today. She doesn't know anything. But I do, Emma said, her eyes burning into his. I know about the money, Mark. The withdrawals. The offshore account. CR investments. What are you and Claire doing? Mark's face paled, his hands freezing mid-tap. You've been checking my accounts? You're my husband, Emma said, her voice steady despite the tears threatening to spill. I trusted you. But you're hiding something. And Claire's part of it. Tell me the truth, or I swear I'll find out myself. Mark's jaw tightened, and for a moment she thought he'd confess. But then he stood, grabbing his coat. I can't do this now. I'll bring Lila home tonight. We'll talk then. Mark, don't you dare, Emma started, but he was already walking out, the coffee shop door swinging shut behind him. Emma sat there, her heart pounding, the untouched coffee growing cold. He hadn't denied it. Not the money, not Claire's involvement. He was running, just like he always did when things got hard. But this time, she wasn't letting him. She called Sarah from the parking lot, her voice shaking with fury. He's hiding something big. He didn't even try to explain the money. Just ran. Then we keep pushing, Sarah said. Mike's digging into CR investments. I'm looking into Claire's real estate deals. If they're moving money together, we'll find it. Emma drove home, her mind racing. The email from Claire kept replaying in her head, keep her out of it. What was it? A business deal? A family secret? She pulled into her driveway, her eyes falling on the mailbox. A letter stuck out, the envelope plain but addressed to her in a handwriting she didn't recognize. She tore it open, her hands trembling. Inside was a single sheet, typed and signed, Ask Mark about 2010. He and Claire have been lying to you since the start. Emma's breath caught. 2010, the year before she'd met Mark. What had happened? What were they hiding? She clutched the letter, her resolve hardening. Claire had banned her from the dinner to keep her in the dark. Mark was running from the truth. But Emma was done being shut out. She'd confront Claire, face to face, and demand answers. Whatever secret they were protecting, she'd tear it apart. Emma's hands trembled as she gripped the steering wheel, the anonymous letter still burning in her mind. Ask Mark about 2010. He and Claire have been lying to you since the start. The words had haunted her all night, each syllable a splinter under her skin. She'd barely slept, her thoughts spiraling between Mark's evasions, Claire's smug cruelty, and the mysterious offshore account tied to CR Investments. Today, she was done waiting for answers. Claire was hosting another family gathering, a brunch, of all things, as if the dinner ban had never happened. Emma wasn't invited, of course, but she was going anyway. This time, no one was shutting her out. She pulled into Claire's driveway, her heart pounding. The same cobblestone path, the same polished oak door, but now it felt like a battlefield. Lila was with Emma's parents for the day, a small relief, her daughter didn't need to see this. Emma wore a black blazer and jeans, her hair pulled back, a look that said she meant business. The letter was tucked in her purse, alongside a printout of the bank transactions Sarah had helped her compile. Evidence. She wasn't just here to fight, she was here to win. The doorbell's chime echoed, and Emma braced herself. Footsteps approached, and the door swung open. It was Tom, Claire's husband, his face pale and his eyes darting nervously. "Emma," he said, his voice low. "You shouldn't be here." "Too bad," Emma said, stepping past him before he could protest. "I'm done being told where I belong." Tom hesitated, then closed the door behind her, his shoulders slumping. "Claire's in the dining room. It's tense already. Just be careful." Emma nodded, her jaw tight. Tom's warning only fueled her resolve. She strode through the foyer, the scent of fresh coffee and pastries clashing with the storm brewing inside her. The dining room was a mirror of the dinner she'd been banned from, the same mahogany table, the same crystal chandelier, but now bathed in morning light. Claire stood at the head, arranging a tray of croissants, her emerald earrings catching the sun. Mark's parents, Helen and Richard, sat sipping mimosas, their laughter fading as Emma entered. Mark was there, too, his back to her, stirring sugar into his coffee. A few cousins lingered near the buffet, their chatter halting. Claire's head snapped up, her smile freezing. "Emma? What are you doing here?" Emma planted her feet, her voice steady. "I'm here for answers, Claire. You banned me from your last dinner, humiliated me in front of everyone. I want to know why." The room went silent, forks clinking awkwardly against plates. Helen's eyes widened, and Richard cleared his throat, looking at Claire. Mark turned slowly, his face a mask of unease. This isn't the place," he said, his voice low. "Not the place?" Emma's laugh was sharp, cutting through the tension. "You were going to announce our divorce at your sister's dinner, Mark. Without me there. You don't get to decide what's the place anymore." Claire stepped forward, her arms crossed, her voice dripping with condescension. "Emma, you're making a scene. This is a family brunch. If you can't behave, you should leave." "Behave?" Emma's voice rose, her anger spilling over. "You slammed a door in my face, Claire. You told me I wasn't welcome in my own family. And for what? To protect Mark's little divorce announcement? Or is it something else? Something about CR Investments? Or 2010? Claire's face paled, just for a second, but Emma caught it. The room seemed to shrink, the air heavy with unspoken secrets. Mark's coffee spoon clattered to the table, and Helen gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. Richard's eyes darted to Claire, then Mark, a silent question passing between them. "What are you talking about?" Claire said, her voice tight, but the crack in her composure was unmistakable. Emma pulled the letter from her purse, holding it up like a weapon. "Someone sent me this. Told me to ask Mark about 2010. Said you've both been lying to me since we met. Care to explain?" Mark's face drained of color, his eyes flicking to Claire. "Emma, you don't understand, then make me understand." Emma snapped, stepping toward him. "You've been moving money, Mark. $50,000 from our joint account to some offshore shell company. CR Investments. Claire's company. You think I'm too stupid to notice?" The cousins exchanged glances, one slipping out of the room, clearly uncomfortable. Helen's voice trembled. Mark, what is she talking about? Nothing, Mark said quickly, but his voice shook. It's a misunderstanding. Business stuff. Business stuff? Emma laughed bitterly. You're planning to divorce me in front of your family, and you're stealing from our daughter's future. That's not business, Mark. That's betrayal. Claire's eyes narrowed, her composure snapping back into place. You're delusional, Emma. You've always been unstable, clinging to Mark, dragging him down with your little art projects and your chaos. I banned you from the dinner to protect this family. You're the problem. Emma's hands clenched into fists, her nails digging into her palms. Protect the family? From me? You've been undermining me for years, Claire. Telling Mark's parents I'm unfit, criticizing my parenting, my job. Why? What do I threaten that you have to control everything? Claire's lips curled into a sneer. You stole him, Emma. Mark was ours, my brother, our family's future. You swooped in with your bohemian charm, got him to marry you, to dream bigger than he should have. You made him reckless, and now you're surprised he's done with you? Emma's breath caught, the words hitting like a slap. She looked at Mark, waiting for him to deny it, to defend her. But he stared at the floor, his silence louder than any confession. Tears stung her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. Is that true, Mark? You think I dragged you down? Mark's voice was barely a whisper. It's not that simple, Em. Then what is it? Emma's voice broke, raw with pain. Why are you doing this? Why let Claire run our lives? Claire stepped between them, her voice cold. Because he knows what's at stake. This family's legacy. Our investments, our future. You're a liability, Emma. Always have been. Emma's mind flashed to the email she'd found, Claire's words to Mark, keep her out of it. She pulled out the bank transaction printouts, slamming them on the table. A liability? Is that why you're funneling our money into CR investments? To cut me out before the divorce? What's the plan, Claire? Screw me over so you and Mark can play tycoon? Richard stood, his face red. Enough. Claire, Mark, what is she talking about? Claire's eyes flicked to Richard, then back to Emma. She's fabricating this. She's desperate, trying to tear us apart. Then explain this, Emma said, holding up the letter again. 2010, what happened? What are you and Mark hiding? The room froze, the weight of the question pressing down on everyone. Tom, who'd been silent, shifted uncomfortably, his eyes meeting Emma's for a fleeting moment. There was something there, guilt, maybe, or pity. Mark's hand shook, and Claire's face tightened, her mask slipping. You don't know what you're digging into, Claire said, her voice low, almost a growl. You think you can come in here, throw around accusations, and what? Win? You're out of your depth, Emma. Then tell me. Emma shouted, her voice echoing off the chandelier. What happened in 2010? Why are you so desperate to keep me out? Mark finally spoke, his voice hoarse. Emma, stop. You don't want to do this. Don't tell me what I want. Emma snapped, turning to him. I trusted you, Mark. 8 years, a daughter, a life together. And you let your sister humiliate me, plan our divorce like it's a business deal. Tell me the truth. Now. Mark's eyes darted to Claire, a silent plea. But Claire's gaze was steel, unyielding. Helen's voice broke the silence, trembling. Mark, what is she talking about? 2010? Mark rubbed his face, his shoulders slumping. It was a mistake. A long time ago. Before I met you, Em. A mistake? Emma's heart pounded. What kind? Claire stepped forward, her voice sharp. Enough. This is family business, and you're not family anymore. Get out. No, Emma said, standing her ground. I'm not leaving until I know the truth. Tom spoke up, his voice quiet but firm. Let her stay, Claire. She deserves to know. Claire's head whipped toward him, her eyes blazing. Stay out of this, Tom. No, Tom said, stepping forward. I'm done staying out of it. Emma's right. You've gone too far. The room held its breath, the tension electric. Tom's defiance was a crack in Claire's armor, and Emma seized it. What happened in 2010, Tom? Tell me. Tom's eyes met hers, heavy with something unspoken. It was before you, Emma. Mark, he got into trouble. A deal went bad, money was lost. Claire and my parents covered it up. They've been holding it over him ever since. Emma's stomach dropped. What kind of trouble? Embezzlement, Tom said, the word landing like a bomb. He took money from a client's account. Not much, but enough to get him fired, maybe arrested. Claire bailed him out, moved money through her company to make it disappear. But it came with a price. Emma's head spun. Embezzlement. Mark, her careful, meticulous husband, a thief? She looked at him, waiting for a denial, but his silence was deafening. Is it true? She whispered. Mark nodded, his eyes on the floor. It was a mistake, Em. I was young, desperate. Claire fixed it. But she never let me forget. And now she's using it, Emma said, her voice shaking with fury. To control you. To control our marriage. That's why you're announcing the divorce, isn't it? To keep her happy? It's not just that, Mark said, his voice breaking. The business is failing again. Claire's investments, my clients, they're tied together. The divorce was supposed to clean things up. Protect the family's assets. Protect Claire, you mean, Emma said, her voice cold. You were going to throw me under the bus to save her money. Claire's laugh was sharp, cutting through the room. You're so naive, Emma. This isn't about you. It's about survival. Mark's clients are asking questions, the accounts are a mess. A divorce makes it easier to separate his liabilities, your liabilities, from the family's wealth. Emma's hands shook, rage and betrayal warring inside her. You banned me from the dinner so I wouldn't fight back. So Mark could announce it and make me the villain. You're disgusting. Claire's eyes glittered with malice. You're the one who doesn't belong, Emma. You never did. Enough. Helen's voice cracked, her face pale. Claire, Mark, this is shameful. Emma's your wife, Mark. Lila's mother. How could you do this? Mark's eyes filled with tears, but he said nothing. Emma's heart shattered, not for the loss of him, but for the life she'd believed in. 8 years, built on lies. She turned to Tom, her voice steady despite the pain. Thank you. For telling me. Tom nodded, his expression heavy. I should have said something sooner. I'm sorry, Emma. Claire's face twisted with fury. You'll regret this, Tom. Maybe, he said, his voice quiet but firm. But I'm done watching you destroy people. Emma's eyes locked on Claire's, the room fading around them. This isn't over, she said. You think you can control everyone, but you can't control me. I'm going to protect my daughter, and I'm going to make sure everyone knows what you've done. Claire's sneer faltered, just for a moment. Emma turned, walking out of the dining room, her head high despite the tears burning her eyes. She heard Mark call her name, but she didn't stop. The front door closed behind her, the morning air cool against her skin. In her car, she called Sarah, her voice shaking but resolute. I confronted them. Tom told me the truth. Mark embezzled money in 2010, and Claire covered it up. She's been using it to control him ever since. That's why she banned me, why Mark's pushing the divorce. It's about money, Sarah. Their money. Sarah's voice was fierce. Holy shit, Em. That's huge. We've got them now. Can you get to my place? We need to plan our next move. I'm on my way, Emma said, starting the engine. Her mind was racing, but one thought stood out: Lila. Her daughter was caught in this toxic web, and Emma had to protect her. Claire and Mark thought they could erase her, but they'd underestimated her. She wasn't just fighting for herself anymore, she was fighting for her daughter's future. As she drove away, the image of Claire's smug face lingered, but so did Tom's quiet defiance. He was a crack in their armor, an ally she hadn't expected. And with Sarah and Mike on her side, she'd tear their secrets apart. The brunch had been a battlefield, but the war was just beginning. Emma stood outside the courthouse, the early morning air crisp against her skin. The building loomed before her, its gray stone facade as unyielding as the battle she was about to face. Today was the family court hearing, the culmination of weeks of pain, betrayal, and relentless digging. Her black blazer was pressed, her hair pulled back, and her hands clutched a folder stuffed with evidence, bank records, emails, and the sealed 2010 court document Mike had uncovered. Sarah stood beside her, her lawyer's briefcase a shield, her eyes fierce with determination. You ready? Sarah asked, squeezing Emma's arm. Emma nodded, though her stomach churned. I'm ready. For Lila. For me. Inside, the courtroom was stark, its wooden benches and fluorescent lights a far cry from Claire's opulent dining room. Emma's parents, Linda and Greg, sat in the front row, their presence a quiet strength. Tom was there too, his face drawn but resolute, ready to testify against Claire. Mark's parents, Helen and Richard, sat on the other side, their expressions unreadable. Claire was absent, she wasn't a party to the divorce, but her shadow hung over everything. Mark sat at the defendant's table, his suit rumpled, his eyes avoiding Emma's. She wanted to feel pity, but all she felt was resolve. The judge, a stern woman with gray hair, called the hearing to order. Sarah stood, her voice clear and commanding. Your Honor, we're here to request full custody of Lila Lawson for my client, Emma Lawson, and to address financial misconduct by Mark Lawson, including fraud and asset concealment tied to CR Investments, owned by his sister, Claire Reynolds. Mark's lawyer, a slick man in a tailored suit, objected, claiming the financial allegations were irrelevant to custody. But Sarah was prepared, presenting the bank records showing Mark's transfers to CR Investments, $50,000 from their joint account, funneled through an offshore shell company. This isn't just about money, Sarah said, her voice rising. It's about trust. Mark Lawson has betrayed his wife and daughter, hiding assets to protect his sister's illegal schemes. Emma's heart pounded as Sarah laid out the evidence, emails between Mark and Claire, directing client funds to cover losses in Claire's real estate deals, Mike's findings of mismanaged client accounts, and the Bombshell, the 2010 court document proving Mark's embezzlement and Claire's cover-up. The courtroom buzzed, Mark's lawyer scrambling to object, but the judge's sharp gaze silenced him. Ms. Lawson, the judge said, turning to Emma. You've made serious allegations. Can you substantiate them? Emma stood, her voice steady despite the weight of every eye on her. Yes, Your Honor. My husband and his sister planned to announce our divorce at a family dinner I was banned from, to hide their financial schemes. They've been manipulating me for years, using my daughter as leverage. I have proof, emails, bank records, and a witness. She nodded to Tom, who straightened in his seat. Tom took the stand, his voice low but clear. Claire controlled Mark, using his past mistake, embezzlement in 2010, to keep him in line. She banned Emma from the dinner to isolate her, to make the divorce announcement easier. I saw it, Your Honor. I lived it. Claire's been running the family like a business, and Emma was in the way. Mark's lawyer cross-examined, trying to paint Tom as biased, but Tom's honesty cut through. I'm leaving Claire, he said, his voice breaking. She's torn this family apart. Emma deserves the truth. Emma's chest tightened, gratitude mixing with pain. Tom's betrayal of Claire was a turning point, but it didn't erase the years of lies. She glanced at Mark, hoping for some sign of remorse, but he stared at the table, his hands clenched. Sarah called Mike next, who presented the sealed 2010 document and financial records tying CR Investments to fraud. Claire Reynolds used her company to cover Mark's embezzlement years ago, Mike said. Now she's using it to hide assets, defrauding Mark's clients and Emma. I've notified the SEC, they're investigating. The courtroom erupted in murmurs, Helen gasping audibly. Mark's lawyer tried to argue the evidence was circumstantial, but the judge's expression was grim. I've seen enough, she said, silencing the room. Mr. Lawson, do you have anything to say? Mark stood, his voice hoarse. I didn't want this, Emma. I thought the divorce would protect you, keep you out of Claire's mess. I was wrong. Emma's eyes burned, but she held his gaze. You let her humiliate me, Mark. You chose her over me, over Lila. You don't get to play the victim now. The judge deliberated for an agonizing hour, the courtroom thick with tension. When she returned, her ruling was swift. Based on the evidence of financial misconduct and manipulation, I grant Emma Lawson full custody of Lila Lawson. Mark Lawson will have supervised visitation, pending the SEC investigation. The court orders a freeze on Mr. Lawson's accounts and restitution of $50,000 to Ms. Lawson. Reynolds' actions will be referred to the SEC for further review. Emma's knees nearly buckled, relief flooding her. Sarah squeezed her hand, whispering, "We did it." Linda and Greg enveloped her in a hug, their tears mixing with hers. System, hers. You won, Em. The courtroom cleared, but the victory felt bittersweet. Emma stepped outside, the weight of the past weeks lifting slightly. Lila was hers, safe. But the cost, her marriage, her trust in Mark, the family she'd tried to belong to, was steep. As she drove home, her parents at her side, a courier approached, handing her an envelope. No return address. Inside was a single sheet, in Mark's handwriting, "Emma, I'm sorry. I wanted to protect you from Claire's wrath, but I was a coward. The 2010 mistake was mine, but Claire used it to control me. I thought the divorce would free you. I was wrong. Take care of Lila." Emma's throat tightened. Mark's confession was too little, too late. She handed the letter to Sarah, who read it silently, then hugged her. "He's not worth your tears," Sarah said. "I know," Emma whispered, but the pain lingered. She thought of Tom, who'd left Claire that morning, his suitcase in hand as he'd nodded to her outside the courthouse. "I'm done," he'd said. "You're stronger than she ever was." Claire's downfall came swiftly. The SEC investigation hit the news that evening, ex-posts erupting with screenshots of CR Investments' shady deals. Claire's reputation crumbled, her social media silent for the first time in years. Emma didn't read the comments, she didn't need to. She'd won. Days later, Emma moved into a new apartment with Lila, a cozy place filled with light. She hung the Phoenix sketch on the wall, its vibrant lines a reminder of her rebirth. That weekend, she hosted a small dinner, her parents, Sarah, and Lila, laughing around a table cluttered with takeout and crayons. Emma raised her glass, her voice steady. "To new beginnings." Lila giggled, clinking her juice cup. "To Mommy." Emma smiled, her heart full. Claire and Mark had tried to shut her out, but they'd failed. This was her family, her future. And she was just getting started. Thanks for watching. Like, share and subscribe my channel.